Shanti, good evening. Thank you to those of you who are joining us live, and also warm greetings to those of you tuning in later through the video. We're recording this on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas. Great to see those of you who are here. And those of you that were with us last time or watch the video later on, you'll remember that we began reading some points of Brahma Baba's specialities. The one that we began with last week was on his power of faith. This week we're going to read some points on his power of solitude. But before we do that, I wonder if any of you who are here would like to share anything or ask anything. Vinelva, great to see you.
Option. I would like to know how do you go about doing the cycle throughout the day?
Do you mind repeating that one, please?
Sure. I'd like to find out, when Baba mentioned us in the discourse of self-realization, and I'm thinking about the five forms. But I'd like to know, how do you go about doing it as often as you can in a day?
Yeah, I think it's something that we almost don't need a formula for. I feel that each BK is a little different, both in terms of their internal nature. So I don't feel that there's anything wrong with you finding your way of doing that. There was something really helpful the other day, I think Sunday, where Bella was saying that even if you find a second, use that second. Go for a second sun. And so what he was saying is that you cannot allow your mind to make an excuse for you not doing it. And that's the main thing. It's not how you do it. It's more that you are doing. That's more important. So, I mean, you're very regular with the early morning Amrit Vedas, and so I tend to use those through the day. I feel that for me, Amrit Veda is very much time for experiencing something, and then in the daytime, just revisiting that experience. Try to align those Amrit Veda commentaries with that day's morning. I very much believe you'll know this from the recordings and you'll know this from the Amrit Veda commentaries. But I do believe that everything we do should focus everyone back on the morning. And the Chit Chat I was having many years back with one of the Madhuban brothers, actually, and he was a very good yogi and was always willing to give good advice. And one of the things he was sharing in that Chit Chat is he felt there was great importance on implementing what Baba tells us in the morning that same day. And I've always remembered that. And he felt that the reason that Mama and Baba were able to reach their karma heat stage quickly was the extra blessing that you get from Shri Baba because you focused on that day's mode. Both of them had that attitude that Shri Baba has said, we've got to do this, we've got to do it today. We can have sanskars of procrastination, avoidance, laziness, and our intention is that it's not that we don't want to do it, and it's not that we won't do it, but we're not necessarily determined and focused to do it now. And you'll remember that Baba often asks us in the morning, doesn't he? Give me a date. The children ask Baba, when's the date of distraction? And Baba says, children, you give me a date when you're going to change. When are you going to become your destination? And what Baba is saying is that, I've heard him say this too, that if you ask Baba for a date, he'll tell you do it now. Give the margin that we'll do it sometime in the future. So what I feel is that every day's morally gives us a variety. And if we just focus on picking one thing even, like today's one was on Baba's heart throne, wasn't it? Or in the morning we often do the one with the tree of souls or something like that. And you're even just choosing one thing, but you're making sure that you're focusing on that one thing in the day. So rather than 5 forms, you're doing one of them. But what you're doing is you're really giving your attention to that one. And you might even do it for more than one day. Just pick one and really think on it. What does it feel like? And make it your own. And Baba always tells us, doesn't he? Experience is the greatest authority. And once you made something your own, once you really feel it, then it's yours. It gives you a tingling. And he wants us to reach a point where we're not grasping for experiences, but we are able to master experience so that we just are re-emerging experiences over time. So I very much am of this mindset that what did Baba tell me today? What was the theme? What does he want me to practice? Let me do that today. And if I do that, it actually stops me from getting bored because it is something different each day. But it's not something very different. And over the course of a year, we're probably practicing the same 10 to 15 things. It's probably not that different. But by doing something different each day, it gives enough variety for the mind to not get bored, to remain content with them. So I tend to just do that. And then I sometimes have something which I'll pay special attention to, maybe even for some months. And one thing that I'm working on at the moment is this ability to accommodate and adjust. So I feel that it's one of those qualities, one of those powers that brings so many virtues. And my experience has also been that. So what I'm doing is I'm just reminding myself a lot in the day that let's accommodate this. Baba said in today's moment that praise and defamation and criticism, all of this is coming your way. And the power to accommodate is being able to live with that and not to let it change you. So to be able to work with the many different sanskars that always are in a team, in a family, in any group. So I think it's this combination of having something that we're working on in our own yoga practice, and then having a virtue or a power that we're looking to implement. And that I don't find helpful just doing for one day. Well, I think we got to have some development time for that. So I might do that for 6 months or 1 year. And Weber often says to us, doesn't he, that you got to check yourself. And so as you check, You're looking to see how much you're changing, are you dealing with things a little differently. So I'm doing those things. And then both of those things are a little more qualitative. And when it comes to measurement, there are not that many things I think we can measure. So, so he gives us that floor of 8 hours, 8 hours minimum. And because it's difficult to measure experience, isn't it? I mean, it's too subjective, too qualitative. Also, virtues and powers, difficult to measure those. Again, it's quite qualitative and it's more of a reflection, I think. So the other one, the one that we can maybe, if we're organized, we can bring more quantitative measurement in, would be the amount that we remember that way. And so I think this combination of one qualitative yoga practice, one virtue or power to work on practically in an applied way, and then also every day, he gives us a floor, a base, that it should be a minimum of 8 hours. So I'm making sure that I keep that minimum of moment a day.
So I just want to double check if I understood properly. The 8 hours is a period in which you're practicing, not necessarily the amount of minutes and hours. Am I
No,
correct?
I think it is the amount of minutes and hours. So I think that's the one where we can measure it more. So I think for that, he's looking at quantity. And of course, if we are focused on quantity, firstly, it's affecting our routine because we won't achieve the 8 hours unless we're doing long Amrit Vela, yoga before Morali, yoga in the evening, and keeping that. We won't do it. So the quantity helps us to stay focused and organized. It also eliminates wasted time because the purpose of the quantity is to reduce the it's just we can often just have useless thoughts, just it's just unproductive thoughts, and they're based on old sanskars mainly. So what remembrance is doing is we're using knowledge to guide our mind, and we're taking it to Baba all the time. It also reminds us that we have the combined form. And that was the theme of today's morning, that you are the long lost and now found again children. And for you, you won't spend much time with Baba in the soul world. So Baba comes to spend time with you now. And the 8 hours is very much about that did we involve Baba? Whether we're running a business, whether we're a professional in something, whether we're looking after our house, whatever we're doing, are we involved in Baba? Are we doing it with Baba in the combined form? We hear that from Brahma Baba in the Morali that he says that he will eat with Shri Baba. Baba, let's eat together. And it's this combination, or he says that Baba is the double engine for his train, and it helps him get up the mountain, get across things, and so on. Or Baba is Karan Karavan Ha, and we are Karana. So there's many different consciousness points that are all linked with this combined form, but all of this would be part of the 8 hours. So within the 8 hours, we would include Amrit Vela, we would include Morali time, we would include sitting in the evening yoga time, If during the day you revised your moral points, even if you're doing some service where you're sharing brother's knowledge, that would also go into your 8 hours. And then the rest of the time, it's more, that's been one of brother's focuses these last few Sundays, that you, while you're performing actions, can you reach a point where your manmanabhav stage remains consistent? It's not better when you're sitting and less when you're performing karma. So suddenly, I think it's also about just enjoying that as well. If it's done through compulsion, Baba always says to us, doesn't he? He doesn't want us laboring. He doesn't want us struggling with things. So all of this must be done with love, with lightness, with a sense of curiosity. And I think it can be achieved. And certainly, it's something which I'm working to build. I mean, probably the 8 hours I'm doing pretty consistently. So now I'm trying to push on from that further. Thank you so much. Hello,
Oh,
keep it Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, brother. And on the same topic that everybody was just asked, if we're doing service in the center, is that a way of burning your sins because you're remembering Baba and you are doing service? Is that a way or karma?
Yes, I mean, I think you're right. So what you're implying is there's certainly a certain part of our mind that would always if we're doing Baba's service. But I'm reminded by something Baba said the previous Sunday. You might remember he was talking to a group from somewhere, and they've got a very well organized system in India where the state that is visiting Madhuban has a certain number who also then serve everyone. There may be 1,000 or 2,000 of that group also serve everyone. And what Baba was saying is that we've got this great opportunity to serve so many thousands of souls, and you're doing it in Madhuban. But if you paid special attention to staying in yoga while you were doing that service, you would actually gain much more. So I think you're right. You do gain, it does count, but I think we gain more where we've got more conscious remembrance. So the way Baba phrases it in the Morally is that, no one would forget their father, no one forgets their parents, we know. But we don't necessarily remember our parents all day either. We don't forget them, but we don't remember them either. So what Baba's asking for, don't forget Baba, which means leave Baba altogether, but he's asking us to remember him consciously. So I think that's obviously easier when you're giving the course or sharing knowledge. That sometimes, as you know, we can all be guilty of becoming action conscious and we lose our soul consciousness and remember it. So we would accumulate, but not as much as we could.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, good to see you as well. Hello, I'm Shanti. We are blessed by both sisters. You have to unmute yourself.
Om Shanti. So good to see you both. It's been a while. I'm glad this topic came up because last Sunday we have a small gathering where we do some churning, and that came up when Baba said, remember me throughout the day. And the thought was, how does that happen? Because do I remember a point throughout the day, which is not always possible? But we do service. And for me, what I was saying in the gathering that we had is that there's like an awareness that Baba is there. And it's like if we had, say, like a team, there's a teamwork. and you know the team is there and you're doing whatever you have to do. It's not that you remember somebody individual, but the team is there. And so it's more an awareness. So is that, as you're saying, would be a less accumulation as far as we're not consciously just remembering Baba's point. I don't know how that can work together when you have service even at the center. You have your housework to do. I tend to remember Baba a lot more consciously, like when I'm driving, and I'm not doing something other than physical. So when Baba, that was always the question when he says, remember me throughout the day. So I saw it as the only possible way to do that is like having an awareness. What Baba is, yeah. So like you do something and it's not that Baba is in front of you, but like you do something and you finish with it, you say, thank you, Baba. Like, you have conversation in between. But not, I don't know why there's an echo. I don't know if it's just my side.
I can hear you very, very clearly, like crystal
Oh,
clear.
something probably with my side. Yeah. So I am so I'm glad that this discussion came up because it cleared up some stuff. But as you're saying now, it's really the accumulation, like when we do concentrated yoga with Baba. That's where what Baba is actually pointing us to, this 8 hours.
I tend to break it down into 9 spiritual resources. So we have body, mind, and will, thoughts, words, and actions, time, breath, and specialities. And what both of you have described is a situation where BK would be using many of those. So it's not the case that it wouldn't be accumulated. I mean, even if they forgot their awareness, time, breath, speciality, like they're all being accumulated. But last Sunday's Morally and the one before was very focused on Manmanabhava. And that's the thought bit above everything else. Delhi Janki used to say that thoughts, time, and breath go together. And if you waste one, you waste all three, you use one, you use all three. But like you're saying, actually, I'm not sure that is the case all the time. Because we can be doing better service and we're using our time and our breath in a worthwhile way. But our thoughts could be somewhere else. And Baba tells us in the Moli, doesn't he, that sometimes some children are in front of him in Madhuban and their thoughts are somewhere else. He can tell they're not really concentrating on what he's saying. So we all have that experience. And we sat in the Morally and suddenly we missed one or two lines because our mind wandered on. So it's really a case of, I think Baba is focusing on the main weakness of us BKs at the moment. I think what he's telling us is that Baba and Mama and that generation were a bit better at concentration than we were. So he says how Brahma Baba and Mama had this amazing power of determination. Mama used to say to any of the daddies that it is not possible for her not to achieve something she puts her mind to. Like, such a ferocity of determination. This is what Mama and Baba were like. But Shiv Baba has said, do this today, it was going to be implemented today. It is not a margin, not a trying, not a process, not a maybe, maybe not. They didn't have this in their mind. Shiv Baba said something, they were going to do it. And he doesn't see this in us, I think, at the moment. And Baba would like us to focus on this. It came, must be nearly 12 months ago, actually. It was an 18th January Morali that was repeated on a Sunday. And Shiv Baba was saying that one of Brahma Baba's main specialities was great charity through instant donation. And he was phrasing it in that way because in Hinduism, there is this culture, not just Hinduism, in many traditions too, there's this culture that you shouldn't think about doing something charitable, something good, because if you postpone it, you might end up never doing it. So if you've had an elevated thought, just do it. And Brahma Baba had that value from before Shiv Baba's knowledge. And then he implemented it with Shiv Baba's knowledge. And what Baba says is that with the Brahmins, we go to Madhuban, Baba asks us a question, we raise our hands, Baba puts the video camera on us, and then we're back again the following year, we're raising our hands again. And he's saying that you've developed files of promise. That there's such a gap for you between what you want to do and what you do. And that becomes a sanskar as well. Whereas with Mama and Baba, they had this control over their minds, which was better than us. So I do think that when it comes to the 8 hours, it's also an indicator of a soul having the determination to be Manmanabhav conscious then. Of course, the Brahmins, probably the part of their mind is always thinking of that. But he's talking about really mastering things, developing controlling power and ruling power. And that's something which he's not seeing so much in the Brahmins. Saying to us, if you use force, you labor with it, that also won't work. So on Sunday, he was saying that when you love someone, you can do it for that. Because out of love, you will change. Out of love, you will sacrifice. So this is also about just developing our love for Baba as well. That out of love, we just remember Baba, we get pulled towards Baba.
Thanks for that, Baba.
Thank you. It actually leads into the points that we're going to read today. So let's hear a few, and then you can all come back in. So I'll hand over to Rachel.
Om Shanti, good morning or good evening to everyone, and happy Christmas. Today we are going to have love for solitude and be amiable with everyone. So that is Baba, how I don't know if you can see this position for solitude. You must have seen this photo. Baba was always in solitude.
And Baba always wants the opposites together, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Wants us to be in solitude, and he wants us to be amiable with everyone.
Young ones, he used to be young and youth, and so number one, because Brahma Baba was always lost in churning in solitude and lost in the love of one, he was always completely in the state of spirituality. That is amazing.
Can you speak a little bit more?
Because of this, there was constantly the attraction of spirituality. As soon as one went to Baba, there was the experience that Baba was lost in the depth of one. Even then, he always gave children the experience of having a meeting with all relationships. In the same way, we have to churn in solitude and together with that, be amiable with everyone. And balance, like Baba pointed out the other day, that balance brings them, you have blessings, you can cleanse them. So balance will, if you have balance, you'll be able to give blessings to others as well as receive blessings if you have a balance of both. Number two, just as it is easy to become extroverted, in the same way, you have to practice having love for solitude. That is, practice being introverted. For this, whilst staying in the Lokic family or the Alokic family, for the sake of service, you must be in solitude. That is, go into the depth of one and go in the depth and being in solitude. To be in solitude means to go into the depth of any one power or power of the Father and to remain deeply merged in that. That is, to stabilize yourself in the one powerful stage. If you listen to Surya Bhai's class, he always says, start with Master Almighty Authority. I am also Master Almighty Authority, like Baba is the authority, but I am also Master. So, just one thought, powerful, will you let you, if you stabilize, powerful stage. Number 4, just as you follow all the other disciplines, considering them to be necessary, so too for self-progress, for success in service, and for the atmosphere of the center. So 3 things: success, service, and the atmosphere of the center. If you want to self-progress, for success in service, and for the atmosphere of the center, have the aim of having love for solitude and make some time for this with love from the heart. Stabilize your mind and intellect in one powerful stage and become a resident of solitude. So today Baba used the word resident of solitude. Number 5, whilst being in solitude, your cheerfulness should not disappear. So the balance of solitude as well as remaining cheerful. Both should be simultaneous and to the same extent. To be amiable with everyone means to interact with others and to understand their sanskars and nature with knowledge. Shall I read that again? To be amiable with everyone means to interact with others and to understand their sanskars and nature with knowledge. To have love for solitude does not mean that you do not come into connection with others. Anything in its extreme is not good. It is not good if one virtue is like a storm and the other is merged. That's right. Baba said here that everything should be simultaneous. He said both, like solitude and your cheerfulness, both should be simultaneous and to the same extent. And so that's why Baba is saying anything in its extreme is not good. It is not good if one virtue is like a storm and the other is merged. Therefore, there should be a balance between the two. Number 6, in order to go to the faraway land, that is to your sweet home, merge the expansion into a dot and practice having love for solitude. So Baba says Sar, essence, merge expansions into a dot, means essence. And practice having love for solitude. For this, you need the power to pack up. So power to pack up, one of the 8 one, with baggage, your baggage of sanskars, your past sanskars, the sign there shown. Pack up your suitcase of old things. You need that for, in order to go to the faraway land, that is to your sweet home, merge the expansion into a dot and practice having love for solitude. And for this, you need the power to pack up. Stabilize yourself on the flying seat of being double light and go into solitude. Be amiable with everyone and adopt the instruments for service. Create new plans for service, but do not have any ropes tied to any shores. So, like an anchor, it means attachment, isn't it? Not to have any attachment. Like an anchor, lift your anchor, and then you will be able to go. So, Baba says, create new plans for service, but do not have any ropes tied to any shores. Means not to have any attachment. And number 7, to have love for solitude and then stabilize the mind and intellect with determination is true tapasya. Baba says to have love for solitude and then stabilize the mind and intellect with determination is true tapasya. Tapasya means to finish waste thoughts. Only when you finish this, means waste thoughts, will there be perfection. Have love for solitude and burn your weaknesses in the fire of yoga, Jwalamukhi yoga. So have love for solitude and burn your weaknesses in the fire of yoga, intense yoga. Number 8, have love for solitude and make your stage constant and stable. The yoga of your intellect should be broken from all other directions. In order to be constant and to have love for solitude, taste the sweetness of all relationships with the One. Belong to one and none other. Only those who have such a stage can remain stable. To become concentrated means to stabilize yourself in the one thought and to be deeply absorbed in the love of one. Number 9, even though there may be upheaval in all 4 directions, remain absorbed in the depth of one that is, experience the One. For this, make effort by the self. So, for this, to remain absorbed in the depth of One, that is, experience the One. For this, make effort by the self. Whilst walking and moving along, continue to use whatever time you have in a worthwhile way by practicing this. The above method, Baba said, practice that. Do not become careless in making effort for the self. Even if there is upheaval in all four directions, remain absorbed in the depth of One, that is, stay in solitude. And number 10, by having love for solitude, you are able to practice concentration. When you have the practice of concentration over a long period of time, you will be able to attain both the main powers. One is the power to discriminate, and the other is the power to make decisions. So Baba is asking us to use the the powers also accordingly. Above that was power to pay. This is power to discern. Isn't it? Discriminate. One is the power to discriminate, and the other is the power to make decisions. Both these special powers are the special instrument to finish all the problems in your interaction with the godly family and with others. So these powers are the weapons or the instruments to finish all the problems in your interaction with the godly family and with others. This is 10. So
I think it reinforced some of the things we were speaking about earlier. Would anyone like to come back on any of those?
Shanti, my takeaway from that is really solitude allows the eight powers to become more emerged. And it is with the powers that if it's lacking, then the challenges come. And recently, my challenges have been I've gotten very much involved in service at the center. And you want to be in solitude, but you have some scars of souls who are supporting whatever is supposed to happen. That sometimes doesn't allow you. It becomes a bit extroverted. And I have been having some challenges with that. And not wanting to be disrespectful, but is to be able, Baba answered everything really. I think it's for me to be able to be more concentrated, more in solitude, which I do feel I am when I'm on my own. But at the center, it can be challenging at times because you want it quiet. There's a lot of extroversion at times that makes whatever is being done not easy to get through whatever service it is. You know? And at one time, and it depends on which center. All the centers are not like that. But it is different personalities and the sanskars of these souls. And I recognize that. But what it does, sometimes I've often thought of what I should pull back, which I know is not the correct thing. because Baba service is Baba service and I do it with full heart. Sometimes I wonder if it is I am shortchanging myself, what is required at this time, but what is happening, the urgency of what I need to do. And I think about it in that way. I see it as a selfish thought because it is service, but at what expense? I don't know if you have any thoughts, and how do I manage it better?
I think what came across in those points was this definition of cheerfulness and the fact that Baba combines these opposites for us all the time, doesn't he? Loving and detached. Today was solitude and amiable or cheerfulness. And what Baba is explaining is that you're always going to have a weakness if one is dominant. And your weaknesses are often your specialities that have become overused. So we're very organized, or we're very good at working on our own. And then we're less good at working with others. We're less good at dealing with mess and so on. Now, there's always going to be an area where we're very strong, but the drama is not really testing that, is it? The drama is testing the bit that we're not so strong, because that's where the improvement must come. So, how I tend to do it is, first of all, we must create protected time, and that's where our routine comes in. So, you're having your Amrit Vela, your Morley time, and your evening yoga, and also if you have class in the evening. So you've got periods of the day, probably totaling about 4 hours, maybe, where it's protected time. So that's your time for solitude and focused study and remembering. If service is interfering with that, then something is wrong. Or any other thing is interfering. Then we've lost our balance. That then results in developing solitude and during the rest of the day. And I like to tell myself to grab moments. So I'm looking for moments for solitude. You gave the example earlier of driving, particularly that would be when you're on your own. But like we're walking, we're on our own while we're walking. There's moments during the day where we are actually able to grab the moments of solitude. So I'm not so worried about having to come into action and interaction. For me, that's where that cheerfulness comes in. And there is phrasing that Buddha uses in the Modhi around being a bestower, being a giver. And that's linked with being there for what others need. And I see it that way, that at that time, people might need to talk, people might need to interact in a light way. And then we've all got different roles. Some of us are working in the world. So solitude doesn't even exist in the human world. It's not a thing. So they're going to need us to be interacting with them in a warm and friendly way, engaged. And I think it was Shashi Devi of Madhuban was sharing one time that her and the other sisters used to ask Devi Manmain. That's the Devi of the Dadis, the one who was the very first BK. And she was the senior sister with Devi Prakash Mani. She was the senior sister anyway, but particularly after Mama. departed, she moved back from Delhi to Madhuban. So of course everyone's coming to Madhuban and they see her talking with people the whole day. So they asked her, when do you develop that time for solitude? And she said it was while she was listening to people. So there was a point just now we heard where Baba said, just take yourself up. So Brahma Baba was able to remain lost in the solitude while performing actions. One of the points was about becoming the point or becoming lost in a particular power. So what Devi would say is that often when you're talking with someone, you've understood what they're going to say quite quickly. They might need 5 minutes to say what they want to say, but you sort of have got it, or where they're coming from. So let's say they need to talk for 5 minutes. You've understood in 1 minute where this 5 minutes is going. You've got 4 minutes for solitude. Now, if you watch Baba's videos, Baba is the best at this. He listens so actively, like full eye contact. He's very, very engaged. And people I remember over the years I used to listen to those conversations on the stage, and I had all these people talking about their backache and their knee ache and this and that. And I felt it was just like there were so many things I thought totally inappropriate to tell God. And God has come. We could ask him so many interesting things. And people are just telling him about such ordinary things that I used to feel that we shouldn't really be troubling Shiv Baba with these things. But Baba never gave that feeling. He's very focused. Now we know that Shiv Baba at that time, he's the father of the unlimited. So how he's able to listen to that person, and maybe he's also listening to another soul in another place, and he could even be giving someone a vision, couldn't he, at the same time as he's got this amazing intellect that's able to multitask on a totally different level to all of us. But he never let go. But internally, we know he's silent. Now, of course, we have to develop that silence, but it's this, he's modeling for us how he wants us to be. So he's also very entertaining. I used to always think as well, they get him, it's quite noisy and jangly, isn't it? While the different festivities come and they bring on some candles and I'm sure that God is really not that interested in these things. But he doesn't show that he's not interested, does he? He's fully interested, fully engaged. He's dancing with everyone, waving at everyone, enjoying. You wouldn't tell from him that he's beyond all these things. But when he's in the body, he's with everyone, giving everyone the experience of that cheerfulness, that amiability. And he always holds his power on the inside. He doesn't show his power, he shows his love. He shows his understanding, he shows his empathy of them. So I very much feel that listening time is where we grab our moments of solitude and we begin to train our mind that you can be very present with everyone, but you don't need to get absorbed. And this is our mistake, as body conscious beings. We don't stay inside with people. We sort of forget ourselves and we just become absorbed in the action and the interact. This is our mistake. Baba never gets absorbed. He's always loving and detached at the same time, always both. So he gives everyone the feeling, but then it's not like he goes and then he misses and he doesn't. There's a famous line that comes in the Morali. The daddies used to talk about this a lot. But Brahma Baba had this thing he would say to the BKs as they were leaving Madhuban. That Khush raho, abad raho. Na bisro, na yad raho. So it rhymes in Hindi. That Khush raho, may you remain happy. Abad means overflowing, may you remain full. You will never be forgotten, but you will never be remembered. It was because they had this feeling from Brahma Baba that when you were with him in Madhuban, it was as if he only had one child, and it was you. Special child. He didn't have any other children. The moment you left Madhuban, he never even remembered you. And this is Baptada's ability. They don't get absorbed into people, into their nature. Solitude is this. It's this training of our mind to be in the action, but not get absorbed in the action. And if we can master this, then the sign will be the power. So the scene will go and it won't replay in your mind. It's a good sign. You leave the drama where it was in the drama. It's morning. It comes up in the Morley, and I can remember Lady Janki emphasizing this when she would read the Morley. Brahma Baba's face would come in front of her, and it comes in the Morley that second by second, this drama just passes. And sometimes Baba uses the phrase that drama ke patte par chalna hai. You have to move on the rails of the drama. It's gone. The scene is gone. The scene will come back after one cycle. But our mind is still in that scene. And this is a lack of solitude. This is what Baba means by solitude. It's not the monk solitude. Or, the other day we had that Morley about we don't need to empty our minds of all thoughts. Baba is not teaching us that type of meditation. He is teaching us that we fill our minds with others' remembrance. We fill our mind with knowledge, with happiness. So he doesn't want an empty mind. He wants a full mind. But what he's looking for is that your fullness is such that you can remain then detached from good and happiness and sorrow, victory and defeat, all of the variations that will happen. Because if we're absorbed in the happiness, we'll definitely become absorbed in the sorrow. It's just inevitable. Paliban, great to see you. Did you want to come in?
Shanti, good to be a part of this. I just happened to open my cell phone and saw that link and okay, let's try. And I'm asking Siri if this is the right time, and it was. So really good. I was just reflecting on this Murli that Baba said that people are in close to the ocean, but still they cannot feel it. And something I just felt very deeply because of some incidents that happened that do I even know myself? Do I even know myself before I get into other situations? And so that really is staying with me for some time. I'm reflecting on it. But at the same time, from the readings that Ranjan Ben was reading right now, about virtues, that we give so much importance to a particular virtue of ours that the others
get neglected. And something that I is again kind of reinforcing this idea of something is being neglected, where I really need to focus on and connect with my own inner self. Of course, then solitude plays a very important role. So yes, becoming a point is a is a task in itself, very hard. Trying.
Yes. Thanks, brother. Let me know if this is a bit better now. But yeah, sister, those are good points, all of them. And I just feel that it's about consistent practice. I don't think being a point in itself is difficult, but it's just about us daily making sure that we got this maintenance. Like I know you join us for your evening yoga, which is our Amrit Vela. So I think it's good routines, consistent practice. We encourage each other. About virtues is an interesting one to channel because many of our weaknesses are actually our specialities. I know, so you've got to really think on it because on one side, we want everyone to have good self-esteem. We don't want people. So the way that we would do it is to encourage thoughts about your virtues. What are you good at? What do people appreciate about you? Those things are important to know as well. But then I think the journey is actually almost to forget about that as well. So start off with our self-esteem can be quite fragile. So we do need that positive affirmation. But then over time, my experience has been that actually, I don't need anyone telling me my virtues really round. Now it's about internal fullness that I must gain from Baba. So really, the focus must be actually what are the opposite virtues? And every virtue has a balance. So we see that in the eight powers as well, don't we? But they can also balance each other. One side, power to face, another side, power to tolerate. You can got to have both because the situation might require one or the other. Thing to churn on is how they're not necessarily 50-50. I spent some time churning on these things a while back. And for example, the power to face compared to the power to tolerate, I think is 95-5. That's balance. 95% we have to tolerate. And we only confront 5%. And if we confront too much, it just causes friction. So even with the opposites, it's not necessarily 50-50. So that's also something that we've got to churn on. One thing I've been churning on recently is truth. And on one side, we want to be truthful. Baba is the true. Satyug is the age of truth. There are many things where we would say we want to be truthful. But the more that you think on it, actually, you probably don't want to speak the truth during the day, do you? Much. It's probably only 5% again. Like if we just walk around giving our true opinions about everyone and everything, all that will happen is we'll create waves of negativity everywhere. So Baba would say, power to merge. Don't speak the truth. Merge. And so what Baba says is truth of the soul, truth of the Supreme Soul, truth of the Dharma. He says that's the truth. Speak that. Don't give your opinion of what that is. That's not important. So even within this, you can churn on it, how there's balancing virtues, but even the percentages between them are important. How often are we using a particular virtue? can also be the difference between success and friction and resistance. And over the years, I'm just learning to be more and more, like Baba uses this phrase, he used to use it for Dr. Nirmala Vidya quite a lot, that if you are real gold, you'll be able to mold yourself. And this is that we got to move to a point where we don't really need to boost our self-esteem, but we just need the virtues like a repertoire, the powers like a repertoire, and we can just easily mold and flow between them. We can be in solitude, we can be cheerful, we can be loving and truthful and powerful and gentle and caring. We're just flowing between everything, almost like there's no contrast, there's no boundary or barrier. We're flowing like water through all of the virtues and powers. And I feel that's the process towards mastering at your virtues.
Yeah, thank you. That really helps. Probably it should be such that it should strike at that particular point of time, which one to pick, really. And if it becomes natural, then I guess you've mastered it. But yes, that's a process. Thank you so much.
Discussion. Oh, Gita, did you want to come?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
I believe
There's that
becoming
feedback again.
a master and child, I am able to deal better with the powers when you have to face situation, because you do have to face situation. So by becoming master and child, as Baba always tell us, we have to become that. I find myself dealing with situation, especially in the Brahmin family. I am able to deal with it better in that situation. Om Shanti.
Yeah, I think that's another good one, isn't it? That's it's always these opposites together. So the master and child is one where Baba's told us, hasn't he, that you can give your opinion like a master, but when you're working together in a group, then you're going to have to go with a majority decision. And at that point, I mean, that's the same at work. That's the same everywhere, isn't it? So you're going to have to be a child and go with it, and not be resentful, not be like you're almost wanting it to fail so that everyone sees that you were right in the first place. But Baba's wanting us to be generous. Let us support another person's idea and make it work. So in this way, all of these things are all about our pushing our limitations, our comfort zones, because there might be levels of meanness, there might be levels of criticism inside of our heart. And what all these virtues are doing is just pushing those things out so that we're generous and caring and loving and forgiving, like Baba is. Very rich discussion. I was in two minds whether we should hold something on Christmas Day or not, but it was well worth it. So you want to say something?
Yeah, and it's Christmas. Baba brought us, Bap Dada is Santa Claus brought us all this. So it's good to share our gifts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's finish with a few minutes of Baba's remembrance. Shanti. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Om Shanti, brother. And have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Baba said every day is Christmas for us.
He does,
Yes.
he does, yes.
Yes.
That's true. Shanti.
Om Shanti.